Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Bridges and Branches. I'm so excited today to do today's video with you guys. This is going to be different than before. We're actually going to do a little bit of time traveling back to 1896, 1897 to a haunted schoolhouse. I first learned about this on a Facebook group called Abandoned Minnesota, and a lady named Barbara posted pictures of this schoolhouse. And all I could tell was that it was near Rapidan, Minnesota. So I went to try to find it. It's on private property, so you don't want to trespass, but it was, some of the comments said that it could be seen from the road. Well, I couldn't see it from the road. I couldn't find it anywhere. So I reached out to Barbara and just asked permission to use her pictures. And as things go with stuff like this, we decided to collaborate on this video. And so she's going to be joining me, and she's got all these facts that I haven't heard yet, all these stories, news clippings, pictures. And we're going to be able to get onto the property and be able to film the inside of the schoolhouse and see it right there firsthand. So a haunted schoolhouse, but there's a twist. Something you guys would never, ever expect. A complete surprise. So I'm on my way to go meet Barbara now. Be back in just a minute. Oh my gosh, what a cool little town Rapidan is. Stone houses. Look at this building here. Antiques. Used to be a grocery store. The peddler, the peddler of Rapidan. Is that what that says up there? Grocery store. My gosh, what an interesting building. Doesn't look like anybody's living here, but there's chairs there. Yeah, there's another sign. Wow. There's still some furniture and stuff. Oh, antique stuff in there, I bet. I wonder if it's ever open. Firewood for sale, but wow. Cool. Okay, now to go meet Barbara. I had to stop and get a shot of this. Look at this old garage. Old truck in there. Gas station. Talk about days gone by. Very cool. And then this building, that's the town hall right there. This used to be the post office. And I'm not sure what this building was. Nothing's marked on it. And I have to. You must be Barbara. I have to film it, our first chance meeting. Yes. I'm so next to me. Here we go. Hello. Hello to Bridges and Branches. Okay. Yes, what can we do? Where do you propose we start?
I don't mind. Stephanie will be out shortly. She's going to drive us in the silver Ford Escape back there.
Okay.
So it's up to you. It's really actually kind of a short distance away from here. So if you want to start here with an introduction.
Okay.
And then we can chit chat as we drive over and then resume filming over there.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
It's up to you.
Yeah. It's really, yeah, that works too.
This is kind of your baby. I mean, it's very much your baby. You just brought me into it. So.
Oh, I'm grateful. I'm grateful.
So I'm Barbara. I'm a Mankato native, born and raised, and native to Blue Earth County, of course. And I first heard about the Yaeger Schoolhouse around about 2017, 2018, when I checked out a book from the library. It was a volume put out by the Blue Earth County Historical Society, a compilation of different articles of their newsletters. And I on the title, it had the ghost of the Yaeger Schoolhouse on it. So I
Cool.
like history and I like paranormal.
Yeah.
So, of course, the title intrigued me. So I grabbed it and read it. And it was about a page and a half long. It wasn't very long, but it was a very thorough history of the Yaeger Schoolhouse here in rural Blue Earth County in the Rapidan Township. And just this really fascinating story about a man named Cyrus Miller. He did go by a couple of different aliases, and I can explain that further. How for about a period of 18 months in the late 1800s, almost to the turn of the century, he made a home and lived in the underneath of the schoolhouse, completely dug out a little hideaway and furnished it and was stealing necessities from neighboring farms around here. And it managed to elude not only the citizens, but the local law enforcement for that period of 18 months until he was finally caught.
Wait, talking about necessities, I mean, what was it then that made people think the school was haunted then?
Okay, so what actually made the residents feel like it could only be a ghost, when he fashioned the hideout underneath the school, he had piped into the school's chimney system so he could run a stove and draw the gas out so he could cook and heat it and that sort of thing. And various people would walk by the school and see smoke coming out of the chimney. And they'd be like, well, school's not in session. What's going on? And they'd go up to the school and touch the stove and it'd be cold. And then I have some research that I found too on the teacher at the time. Eva Hauer was her name. And she recalled walking into the school one morning and seeing a window open. And at first she just kind of dismissed it, shut the window, and went on about her day. And then another time she walked into the school and there was bits of paper scattered around, and she also saw a man's footprints on the floor of the schoolhouse.
Oh my gosh.
And so it kind of alerted her, but then again, nobody was in the schoolhouse as far as she could see. So then one by one, children started coming and saying, well, clothes were stolen off of our clothesline, and, eggs were stolen out of our chicken coop, and different things kept coming up missing. And no thief was ever caught. Nobody was ever seen. So it turned into, well, we have to have a ghost around here. I mean, we see smoke coming out of the chimney, but the stove is cold. Cold to the touch, and it could only be the work of a ghost.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And to the left of Barbara is her cousin Stephanie. Do you have similar stories of this time too? You live here in Rapidan. Did your relatives kind of?
I'm here in Rapidan. I haven't always lived here. I grew up over by Elysian.
Okay.
I used to be the one of the carriers on the route that the schoolhouse is currently on. And I didn't really know the history of it or the story of it at the time. And in the direction in which I would cover the route, the building is more behind where I would be, like the opposite direction I'd be driving.
Okay.
So I happened to see it a couple times, and I wasn't really aware what it was or what the story of it was. I didn't know if it was a church or what it was. And I mentioned it to her, and she's like, "Oh, that's a schoolhouse." And I was like, okay, and how do you know? She's such a history buff. She had done her homework on it, so I think I knew where it was. She knew the story.
The two we get together.
Right. Stephanie had grabbed a picture of it. We both love photography. She's more on professional level than I am. And she posted a picture of it a few years back when she was currently on that route.
First snowfall.
And it was a very beautiful picture. And I'm like, that's the Yaeger Schoolhouse. Oh my goodness.
That's the what?
And once I had read that story, and so that was maybe, about 4 years span from when I read the story in the book until she made that post. But that story stuck with me, because it's just it's so cool.
Yeah. Going out and seeing, rundown buildings, historic structures in the counties and surrounding counties. And I've been off work. I had carpal tunnel surgery, and we just said, hey, I'll show you where that is.
Yeah.
And then her picture of that, or photos of it, kind of led to everything else. A lot of people have been very curious about it. A lot of people want to know more about it and where it is, because it is such a unique structure. I would think a schoolhouse from the day would be like the typical red or white, smaller frame, small one-room schoolhouse.
Yeah.
And this seems very ornate
Oh.
for what would have been a rural building from that era.
Yeah,
Okay.
and for it to be used strictly as a school.
And not church.
Yeah,
Oh.
it wasn't a town hall ever. It wasn't a church.
Oh, wow.
It was only school. And I found out in my research they had a summer term and a winter term. There was a male teacher for the summer term, and then this Miss Eva Hauer was the teacher for the winter term.
Mhm.
And I believe she was the teacher for the bulk of the happenings that were going on and the things that were taking place. She was definitely the teacher in session when everything came to a head and Mr. Cyrus Miller was caught and in jail in Mankato awaiting trial. And so Sheriff Bowen from Mankato, Blue Earth County Sheriff, had came out to the school, waited till the school day was over so the children were gone, and approached Miss Hauer and was like, you need to come inside. I have something to tell you and show you. And that's how she discovered. Yeah. He sat her down and he said, we've got this guy in custody. He said he's been living in the basement here. And they slid away her desk and opened up the trap door and went down inside. She said she couldn't believe it. She said he was the neatest, most orderly ghost she had ever heard of, because everything had its place. And he had a complete apartment down there.
Like what? What was in there?
He had a cot.
Okay.
There are drawings depicting a wooden chair. It wasn't mentioned in an article, so I don't know if that was an artist rendering. Like maybe this would have been, but she had noted there were pictures on the wall. He had hung up his utensils, his pots, and things like that, because he didn't have any cupboards. He had no way to really build cupboards, but he had a stove. He had books. He had carpeting. He had even put wallpaper up on the walls. Don't ask me.
On the dirt wall?
On the dirt wall. Don't ask me how. But they said it had he made it a home. And like I said, he was able to pipe into the current chimney system, so he could draw out any gas from, lighting a fire. And he was very sophisticated and very completely done. When we actually get to the site, I'll show you. The main entrance that he used was on the north side of the building, and it was constructed into the wainscoting of the chimney. Don't know exactly what that is. Hopefully we can see something from the outside, but several accounts, different articles that I was able to research, had said that even the most keenest carpenter or mason could not have seen that thing was cut out that way. He did everything so completely, and then inside where the trap door was, he did it on the seams of the floor so that everything lined up. So he was. And he barely used that trapdoor system. He primarily only used it if he wished to get up into the school, which he did sometimes to play the organ.
Oh, no kidding.
So, I mean, and it's weird. I have some quotes and some things that he said after his capture and stuff that they kind of don't make sense to me. He kind of had told law enforcement that he built that place so he would have a place to go if he didn't have any other place to go. But yet it seems like for that 18-month span, that was his primary residence. So, and
it was decorated with things that he'd stolen.
Yes.
As the ghost.
Yep. He had the linens. He had the clothes.
Oh my gosh.
Pictures, and then he also had mentioned that he did work from time to time and earn money. So then why would you have to steal? Mr. Miller is an enigma in and of himself, not only being known as the ghost of the Yaeger Schoolhouse, but just him as a being in the research that I was able to find of him. it's intriguing, and I was glad that I was able to get some of that research instead of this is this man, this is what he did, and then he went to prison, and that was it. So, we got some background on Mr. Miller as well.
Why didn't he just have a house? Why did he build a room under the house to begin with, or the school to begin with?
I'm not really entirely sure. Okay. So how Mr. Miller was not a native Minnesotan.
Okay.
Mr. Miller was an escaped convict from the state penitentiary of Nebraska in Lincoln, Nebraska. He was sentenced to 1 year there for theft in Nebraska. And 7 months into his sentence, he decided, this isn't for me, I got to get out of here. So he tunneled out of the penitentiary, and the one account that actually had this story of how he came to be here said that he stayed in that tunnel for 3 days while they were out looking for him, and then ultimately escaped. And he had food with him, he had provisions, so he wasn't sickly and weak. And very smart guy. And he made his way. He spent some time in Iowa. He did some pickup work there, but he was kind of a sickly man, so it wasn't a long-term thing. He was running a threshing machine, and he wasn't able to keep up with that for very long. By his account, after his capture, he said he wanted to live in Fairmont. I don't know how he came to hear about the community, or what was his draw there. But he wanted to live in Fairmont, he wanted to work, and he wanted to save money, and then he wanted to attend the normal school in Mankato. And that was his goal. And so he bounced around. I think he spent some time in Sleepy Eye. I don't know, without being able to find out the accounts of the different farms and places where he was permitted to stay on the property, rented a room or whatever, what happened, if he just drifted off, or if there was a falling out and they said you have to move on or whatever. But eventually it came out to be like he had nowhere to stay. He had no money to speak of. I think when they caught him, he had $5 on him. So maybe he did some work, maybe he stole that, who knows. He was a lone wolf. He was not part of a group or a gang of people in a ring where he was stealing things and selling them, or anything like that. Primarily what he took was off of farm sites, and it was functional to him. So food, he got a cow, got it off a farm site, milked it, and let the cow wander back home the next day. And teams of horses, and take them and run them. Now, whether he was driving them further out to commit other thefts or what, but the farmers could see the horses were sweaty, had been worked very hard.
In the morning.
So he was doing these capers at night, where he could sneak out and then sneak in, and he would spend time sleeping in the basement of the schoolhouse. But there were times that he would look up through the chimney, and he could see the school, the proceedings that were going on that day, the lessons and things. He did confess to Mrs. Hauer. Mrs. Hauer very much wanted to see this ghost, so she went to the Mankato jail to see him and interview him. Why did you do this? How did you do this for so long? And he admitted to her that he did see her face.
When he was down
one time. In that 18 months, he was spying on the classroom. He did see her face one time. So yeah, Mr. Miller, I get a laugh out of him because he was able to evade law enforcement here on a couple of different occasions.
How was he eventually caught?
Okay, so he stole a bike from Mankato, and it was described as a bright red bicycle worth $75 in that time. So you think of the late 1800s, a bicycle that's worth $75. Yeah, that's a very high end bicycle. So he stole that. He reports because the current bicycle that he had broken, so he needed a new one. So he stole this, and the owners of the store came, saw the bicycle was missing, and gave law enforcement a description, be on the lookout for this bicycle. It's ours. It was stolen. And lo and behold, it was discovered in Fairmont. Now, there's conflicting reports here, too. One report said that the Martin County Sheriff physically saw Cyrus riding the bicycle and arrested him right then and there. Another report I read said that the bicycle was discovered stashed under a bridge in the Fairmont area, and there were quote-unquote guards put up. I don't know if it was just the sheriff's posse or if these were deputies, but there were guards put in place around the bridge area to wait for the bandit to come back. So, and at the time, they didn't know who they were looking for particularly. They just knew that that bicycle was reported stolen from Mankato, and they knew if it's stashed here, they're most likely going to be back for it. And that's, either way, he was caught in the city of Fairmont and then transported back to Mankato, and he readily confessed. They asked, well, where have you been staying all of this time? And he said, well, under the Yaeger Schoolhouse. And they couldn't believe it themselves. That's why the sheriff, when he went to inform Miss Hauer about it, and what this guy was claiming, they were able to move the desk and open up the trap door. And there was a tunnel about 3 feet wide, and they went down it and then found his hideout, which was 6.5 by 9 foot, I believe. And he had thrown dirt in between the floor of the school and the ceiling of his hideout to buffer any noise
that he might be making.
If he were to make noise. He did most of his cave bringing at night, so everybody would be sleeping, and he can move about in the darkness, and sneak in and sneak out. He made it for 18 months, and had it not been for that bright red bicycle.
Oh my gosh. What a story.
Well, and I'm sure the shop owners in Mankato were like, we got to find this thing. It's $75, Exactly. He did commit a caper in the city of Garden City. There was a warehouse for the Omaha Railroad. And one article I read said the Pinkerton agency was starting to get involved at that point, and I think it was because the amount of that theft, and keep in mind this was the late 1800s, amounted to $1,250.
Wow. Oh,
it was all clothing. All clothing. And I was able to find an inventory exactly how many pairs of mittens, pants, everything that he stole, and it was all clothing that would have been his size. So it wasn't like he was going to take it and sell it or dispose of it in any other way. This was stuff that he was going to use. I did, like I said, I saw the article. The other articles that I saw yesterday did not mention the Pinkerton agency, but it would make sense to me with the amount of the theft that happened in Garden City, that they would probably get involved to help, because local law enforcement just wasn't solving anything.
Those are big thefts considering that time.
Yeah.
What, a $75 bicycle?
Yeah.
A store.
That's
a big loss.
How did you learn all of this? How did you find all this out?
I'm learning right now.
A lot of the stuff she probably hasn't even heard.
No, I knew like bits and pieces, like you said, that one story was only like page and a half, where it's just summary. This is what happened here.
Just a lot of digging. I did go research at the Blue Earth County Historical Society yesterday. They were most accommodating. They were so excited to hear that this was what I was wanting to research. And they had a file, a good inch and a half thick of it. A lot of it were repeat articles, but I sat and I read the articles and, read every word. And there was quite a bit of stuff in there, and they, the Free Press had did something, I didn't catch the year on it, where there was like an anniversary of retelling the story and stuff like that. But vastly, it's been an unknown tale. I mean, people local to the area that have deep roots here probably know it because they have relatives who once attended the Yaeger Schoolhouse, you know, far down the family tree.
Yeah.
But really, it was not even anything I heard in Mankato, which is, you know, within 10 miles of here. So it's a very local history.
Yeah.
And to me, it's just such a fascinating story because, you know, it's got the intrigue of paranormal, but at the same time, it's just this really crafty man who managed to do all this stuff and get by with it for a year and a half, you know? So, you know, I sit and I imagine, like, well, did neighbors maybe start to turn on each other? Like, well, you had to have been the one who took this, you know? I mean, or did they really, were they that tightly knit that they just knew the character of their neighbors and said, well, there's no way. It has to be an outsider. There was a young student, Miss Hauer had talked about, I'm going to quick look up her name here because I can't remember it. Leona Holberg. Okay, so she went and told Miss Hauer that, you know, in the height of all of these things happening, that her and her mother were outside working on the farm, and over by the corn crib they heard a noise, and they said, oh, that's got to be that thief, you know, we caught him now, you know. So and I don't understand a mother and a child thinking that they can take down an elusive criminal, but they were so frustrated by that point of all of these things being stolen around here that they didn't, you know, it wasn't like, oh, let's go find a man and have him check it out. Let's see who is taking care of this. So they went one side of the corn crib and they snuck around the backside, and it was a young calf sneaking corn out of the corn crib. There is another story of the youngest student in school, and they didn't give an age, but they said the youngest student at the school at the time went to the basement door, opened it up, and said, we know you're in there, come on out.
Probably scared Cyrus.
I mean, if he was sleeping, it most likely woke him up. But you know, they didn't say how like far into these things or how you know how much longer it took after these incidents to actually get them caught. But they were just funny little stories along the way. Like, they're trying their hardest to solve the mystery, and they just can't.
Oh, so fascinating. Should we go to the school now? Are you ready?
Absolutely.
So, kudos to the Blue Earth County Historical Society.
Absolutely.
We want to give a shout out to them for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, they were most helpful. They were most gracious. They let me do my research on credit yesterday. And, you know, it's a wonderful, wonderful entity to have. And I guess I didn't even think that they actually had an actual research center in there with archives. I think I'm going to spend a lot of time there.
It might be. So we're not going to film the route to the school because this is on private property, and we want to respect the owners and their privacy. So we will pick this back up again when we're at the school.
I've only seen it from the road.
She had the invitation, but she's never actually taken them.
Oh, sure, Wow. I mean, it just looks stately, doesn't it?
It really does. It really does. It's an impressive schoolhouse.
I wonder why they bricked up the front windows.
I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. That looks like it was done a long time ago.
And it's got a new tin roof, so they're trying to salvage what they can.
Yeah. I don't think that they want to see it deteriorate to the point where they have to, you know, take it down.
Picture the front of there.
I mean, it's a very fancy schoolhouse for the late 1800s. Wooden white schoolhouse or something very, you know. And she said it's still structurally safe. We can go inside.
I know I worried about the door frame, but it looks like
because of the crack on top there.
It could have been for moving it too.
Can we walk around the outside first?
Yeah, we absolutely could.
Let's go. Like, I wonder what all this wall thing is.
You know, that's a good question. I think older pictures I saw from exactly 1900, what they were dated as 1900, it was here, but it was just like this here. So I don't know if there was an extra support or if it was something that they had to build after Cyrus did what he did to the floor. Now, they did say that he weakened the floor structure when he was making the trapdoor inside the school. Luckily, the floor didn't collapse, and nobody was hurt as a result of that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm not really certain what that was, or if there was like some type of, I don't think there would have been an offshoot, you know, like for wood storage for the, you know, the stove. Or, yeah. But I remember seeing a branch off. So there wasn't a complete building on the side of it. And this here, I wonder, this gives that they probably did move it then.
Yeah, we were talking to one of the neighbors before we started recording, and he thought this had been moved a few miles. That it started out closer to Mankato, a few miles closer. Was it closer to Mankato?
Yeah, further down, Highway 66, he seemed to think.
Yeah.
So it must have been a private person who purchased it and then moved it onto their property.
Onto this property?
Yes, onto this current property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where do you think the wainscoting was? On the inside? Well, it had to be the outside.
I'm certainly not a trained mason or carpenter. And if this, it's weird to me because looking at the map that they had of the orientation of the inside of the school, complete with the classroom and down to the basement, they said that it was on the north wall. So it looked like where his hideout was towards the front of the school. So the school had to have been facing north at one point in time. So it might have been around the front. You would think it would be around the back.
Maybe it's at the front. We have an AH carved into a brick there. I wonder what that.
I see that. This thing is just fun. Huge. I can't get over it. This is my first time seeing it.
Really?
Yeah, like this close. I snuck out into the field and got the distance pictures of it. Yeah. The one thing I really wanted to do is be mindful and respectful of the property owners.
Absolutely.
You know, there seems to be a very nice couple, but all the same.
Yeah.
You know, this is theirs. They own it.
Yeah. We have another rock wall on this side, but not as big.
Yeah.
Oh. And it doesn't look like it's just, I mean, those aren't field rock that they would have just been storing them here. No. This is intentional.
Yeah.
Something built for a purpose.
They supported this somehow at some point. And, you know, it's hard to even guesstimate what it would, you know, where that chimney would have been.
Well, I did find one, like the drawing. Well, you sent a couple pictures.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And, okay, let's climb in.
Okay, well, we can see in here. Oh, I hope that's just hay. No, they did say that the floor was removed in the 50s or 60s. However, now looking inside, we can get a different. So the chimney was there.
So the teacher's desk probably would have been right up there.
Yeah, the teacher's desk would have been up. This was the front, so I imagine both sides would be lined here with desks.
Yeah.
For the students. There was a platform about a foot high that
stage.
That set the teacher's desk up on top of it. It wasn't nailed to that platform though. The children, I guess, were able to move that desk around and things, and had even done so while Cyrus was here, and did not discover any anomalies in the floor that would lead them to believe there was a trapdoor right there. So
they filled the holes in, of course. But it's fun to imagine.
Oh, yeah.
Should we climb in?
Yeah, we could.
I'm going to stop recording while I climb in, because there's no step.
There is no step.
And you viewers, remember, this is an old lady climbing in, so I'm stopping recording.
Okay, we made it.
Okay, so you were pointing out back here that this hole on the wall here would have been probably where the stovepipe would have been for the stove.
Yeah.
And we're probably looking at where the platform would have been, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
So the teacher's desk may be like right in this area. And I'll turn around as if I'm sitting where the teacher's desk is so we can see the back of the schoolroom. Trying to imagine it from back in 1897.
I am too. Yeah.
Yeah.
This has to be original wall in here, I would think.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just more than the exposed brick, but whatever it is here. And then they made it some sort of color.
So this would have been the chimney then.
Yeah. This would have been the chimney, so I assume the wainscoting was on the back side of that wall.
Mm-hmm.
What's filled in now, that circle.
Yep. The circle would have been the stovepipe, probably.
Yep. Out from the
Yeah.
stove.
Yeah, because they didn't have a true fireplace. They had a wood-burning stove in here. And I kind of thought it was funny. One of the students, one of Mrs. Howard's students, would light the fires for her because she was not handy with that sort of thing.
Oh, she didn't like to. Okay.
So, yeah. So he would approach the school, see smoke coming out of the chimney. He was one of the many witnesses that saw the chimney smoke passing the schoolhouse. And he would get up and in here and touch the stove, and it would be cold to the touch, and he couldn't figure it out. I just, I think, okay, it's the 1800s, but it's just hilarious to me, like, how this guy got away with this
for 18 months.
For these lengths of time that he did. And, I guess I didn't realize they were, had as many interactions with him as they did the law enforcement and even the students, the one little girl opening up the door, saying, "We know you're down there, come out."
Yeah.
Which he didn't, but still.
Yeah, but how did she even have any kind of intuition that he might be down there? And,
right.
I mean, she opened like the trap door that nobody knew was there?
No, not the trap door, because they had no idea that was there until after he was caught, and he explained that. There must have been a separate door leading to a basement. The schoolhouse had its own basement. So she opened up that door and shouted that. Because, if they would have discovered the trap door, then the jig would have been up much sooner.
Yes.
But he was very careful in crafting that trap door along the seams of the floorboards so it matched flush.
Yeah.
The door he built around the backside of the house and the wainscoting, he meticulously carved that out so that when it was closed, it was seamless. And he weighted it down so that it would stay tight and secure. So he was very, very calculated. So he
thought of everything.
Kept himself hidden. So. And
you said you came across some of the things he said after he got caught.
Yeah. Well, he did, kind of spill the beans right away. It didn't take very much. Law enforcement didn't really. They said they put him in a sweat box. Now, I don't know if that was a figure of speech, or they were just kind of like, okay, you little jerk, what have you been doing around here, kind of thing. However, he readily confessed. He readily confessed to where he was staying. He readily confessed to what he had been doing. And who he was, where he came from, and that sort of thing. The state of Nebraska had put out a bolo for him when he was escaped from the prison there, with his description. And so, he confessed to that. He didn't want to talk about his crime in Nebraska, he said. I do have a quote from him on that where he said that he rather not talk about that because it would involve people that were innocent or something. It was very cryptic. However, given his sentence and the fact that he was convicted for theft, it had to have been a very petty crime because, like I said, it was only 1 year. But he talked about his life. He was born on October 8th of 1867 or 68. I can't remember.
So he was about 20 years old when all of this happened.
Yeah, he was in his late 20s. I believe he was 20. in his late 20s, past the age of 25. No, 10/8 of 1869. So within a few years after the Civil War was over, he was born in Ohio.
97. Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And he lived there.
Okay.
His mother passed away just as right after he turned 1, not very long after he turned 1. So he stayed there with her parents, and they raised him till he was 10 years old. And then they shipped him out to Missouri to live with his father. There is no history given as to what happened between mom and dad.
Okay.
If they separated, or dad was a Civil War vet, so he came to settle in Missouri after the Civil War and never left there. Who knows? But at any rate, Cyrus ended up out there, and he lived with dad. He said that dad had never remarried or anything, so it was just the two of them for 7 years, which would put Cyrus up to the age of 17, and that was the first time he left home. And then he kind of milled around Kansas and did some odd jobs out there, and then came back to Missouri and stayed with dad for a little bit longer, and then left again at the age of 20 and came up to Nebraska. And he actually took a teaching job in Nebraska. And so he was a teacher himself for a little bit of time. And then he turned to theft to pay off, he said, a debt to his brother. I don't know where the brother came from. His dad was a bachelor that whole time for the first 10 years of his life. I don't know where the brother came into play, because he didn't mention my brother and I went to Missouri to live with my dad or anything. This brother just kind of popped out of nowhere. That's why I say Silas is kind of a different character. When he got caught here and he was facing trial, and before he went into Stillwater, before he was sentenced here, his father had wrote to the judge appealing to him and said that, he was a good boy and a good young man growing up. He just only recently kind of started acting weird and funny. And he was like, a lighter sentence would do him better than a longer one. Well, the judge didn't really pay attention to that. He sentenced him to 5.5 years in the Stillwater Penitentiary. And he sat all of that 5 years. He didn't try and escape out of there. But then he was sent back to Nebraska to finish the remainder of his sentence. So he was 7 months in there when he escaped. So he would have only had 5 left to go. I don't think they had, the prison system had good time back then or anything like that. They took into consideration. So, and especially if he escaped, he probably sat day for day. And then after that, he just completely fell off the map. He did tell Mrs. Hauer when she went to visit him at the Mankato jail that he planned on writing a book about his life. And she had commented, I sure would love to read that book, but I never know if he actually wrote it or not.
So we don't know.
We don't know. And yeah, we don't know where he ended up, if he went back to Missouri, stayed in Nebraska, or went elsewhere after that, and what kind of life he led.
The rest of the story, maybe someday we'll find out.
So there is still some mystery about the ghost.
Ghost.
He has that name tag, the ghost of the Yaeger Schoolhouse. And he does have a couple of different aliases. I found with Silas Gray. That's the one I used on my Facebook post. The other one I saw was Cyrus Gray. So I don't know there again, with different newspaper reports and stuff and the accuracy. I don't know if he used one or both of those aliases. But he did give his true name right away too. So an alias again. It's like, why did you do that?
He was a nice crook.
Yeah.
And a nice ghost.
Yeah. And he was adamant that he never stole anything he didn't need or wasn't going to use for himself. And by and large, that was the majority of it. The hams going out of the smokehouses, stealing a cow, milking it, and bringing it back. Eggs from the chicken coops, clothes from the clothesline. He needed linens for his cot, and and then all of that stuff too. Where did you get the cot? Where did you get the furnishing you used? So the kitchenware. They said he used to sneak into people's cellars and get their preserves.
Oh my gosh.
made sure he never was going to starve.
Yeah, and extremely stealthy.
Very stealthy, very
He
stealthy.
must not have been a very big guy. He was able to.
No, they said he was small in stature. They didn't give a height and a weight for him, but they said that he was a tiny man and very fast too. That he was involved in a foot pursuit. I forget which law enforcement or which direction of which area of Blue Earth County it was in, but he was able to dart off and hop into a train car, and the pursuing law enforcement agent thought, okay, now we're rid of him. He's gone forever. They didn't know at the time who he was. They just knew that he was up to something and that he was a tramp and it wasn't trying to make roots here and live legitimately. And then that's when the bike came up stolen after that. But he was able to lose the law enforcement in the woods. He was a very, very stealthy little
man.
But I see the I don't want to call them flanges, but the supports, like right outside this window here, that is drawn onto here. So this must have been an original support for the structure.
Dugout. John wrote his name back there.
Yeah. See, and I don't know if that was. Yeah. That's the thing that I really like about that too, is that people didn't really get in here and spray paint it or anything like that. For the most part, it's about it, as original state as it could be without having. And
these windows are just so majestic.
They are. I'm just impressed by the height of them and like.
And the bricklaying. I mean, that's good brickmanship.
Yeah.
For what I know, what little I know, but it's lasted a move.
And these bricks are probably locally sourced too.
Oh, I suppose.
I mean, these frames clearly are all original in here.
Yeah.
Those weren't replaced at all.
Yeah.
Amazing. So thankful that, the people that own it are so proud of it and so willing to, let us come tour it, and grateful
for sure. Yes, please extend our sincere thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they are fascinated with the history of it, and
well, thank you so much, both of you. This is really
this is so fun.
Yeah. We'll have to collaborate on more adventures.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, anything history, local to.
Oh my gosh!
Probably the original hinges on that.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It absolutely sounds like it.
Okay, the old lady's gonna have to climb back down again, so I'm gonna sign off for now. Thanks everybody for watching.
You overpressed.
This is great. I hope you found it interesting. We'll see you next time.
Amazing.
Detail up there. I just love that.
And I'm glad you can get some up close. Like you can do that with the voiceover, and it's just amazing. I love this.
I'm gonna have your way.
No, you're fine. You are absolutely fine. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because I mean, it fits. It's not a flashy, out of period color. It's very simple.
Just that one hole above the door, and a crack. But I wonder what would have been up in the hole, up on the top, the circle.
A decorative window, I believe. If you look at photos from the 1900s, I believe it was like a decorative little window. It's a very ornate school for a country school.
Right. For that
time period.
You're
for
curious
that time
people, so of course when the story broke about this ghost that lived under the schoolhouse, they had people, somebody capitalized on it and charged 10 cents a pop for people to come and look.
And look at the school?
Yes, and their biggest
revenue in one single day was $10. However, they still managed to fall short, and it wasn't just a single person like, oh, I'm gonna capitalize on this idea for myself. They were trying to raise money to repair the school, the damages that Cyrus had did to it, because he did weaken the floor while making the trapdoor, and he did ruin the outside structure to an extent with that wainscoting, you know, and they would have had to seal that brick area back up and everything, and the piping. So they were never able to really raise enough money. You know, you know, limited news at the time. I'm sure the majority of it was newspaper and word of mouth. So they did get some rubberneckers and some curious cats out here to look at it who did pay for it, but it was just sadly not enough to restore it back to the way it was before, structurally before he came along. So, but yeah, they did the sightseeing tour.
Oh my gosh.
You know, I thought that was just reserved for the real morbid things like the murder scenes and that sort of stuff, you know, but no, I mean, I guess, you know, any way you can get your entertainment. And,
Yep.